welcome officially everybody out to our weekly Activz opportunity call. Again, I'm Daniel Ethington, and we are live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have a wonderful friend and guest presenter joining me, Dr. Larry Martin from Albany, Oregon. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. Dr. Martin, I appreciate you being on today. We're going to be focusing our discussion around a specific product offering here at Activz called LINQ, and what the product's capable of doing, but the cutting edge technology and all of the research and science that's backing this incredible technology, and what we feel it can represent for you and for your family. So just a brief introduction before we get started. I want everybody to meet Dr. Larry Martin. So again, he's from Albany, Oregon. A little bit on his research background and a little bit on his study. So Dr. Martin completed his BS degree, the University of Oregon, a master's degree at Oregon State University, and his doctorate of audiology degree from the University of Florida School of Medicine. In addition, Dr. Martin has also undergone study and research in homeopathic and holistic medicine from the School of Health Science, Paris, France. Some more interesting facts about Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin has worked for the past 7 years, approximately, following advancements in cellular research specifically, with a major emphasis and focus on oxidative stress and the effects of oxidative stress or cellular oxidation, and how it triggers disease processes and different diseases at the cellular level. We know the body's made of cells, and everything starts at that foundational level, right? So he's followed the development of several new and innovative products that have come out into the market, capable of aiding our bodies at the cellular level in defending the cells against diseases at that genomic level. So even more beyond just the cell, we're talking about into our genetic makeup. So that's his professional and his career and his research background. A little bit about him as a person, which I certainly can appreciate. Upstanding individual. So outside of science and research, Dr. Martin's been married to his lovely wife, Stephanie, also known as the other Dr. Martin, as I understand it, for now 34 years. Congratulations, Dr. Martin, on that feat for sure. And together they have 2 children that are now married, who have blessed them with 2 beautiful grandchildren. So with that said, everybody, Dr. Larry Martin is our guest presenter this evening. Again, thank you, Dr. Martin, for being on this evening. Well, we appreciate you being on. I know that you have a passion for research, for learning, staying on the very edge of new product developments, innovations, and science that are coming down the pipeline. So we appreciate your knowledge and being willing to share that knowledge with us this evening. Everybody, let me know when you can see that screen, please. I'm going to go ahead and shut my camera off, but I will be here if anything happens and you need my help with anything. Okay, Dr. Martin?
Okay, go ahead.
Awesome. Ready to rock and roll. Go ahead.
Perfect. So we're going to talk a little bit about our butyric acid product. And tonight I thought I would do this a little differently in presenting a slide presentation, because I've done a number of these now since I've been with Activz for just over a year, and I've done a number of these science calls, and I kind of shoot from the hip and sort of go the direction that I feel like I need to give information. But tonight I thought I would leave you with an actual visual, usable visual item in this slide presentation. And so I thought maybe it would be best if I just gave you some what I thought would be good talking points when you're discussing our product with people who really may not understand, like all of us, I guess, in the initial, who didn't have a real good understanding of gut health. We're learning as we go along, and I'm just trying to stay enough to be able to help you all catch up. So tonight, let's talk about what butyric acid is. Butyric acid occurs in our body naturally and is a molecule described as a short fatty acid. We all probably understand that, unless there's some new folks in the group tonight. It plays an important role because 70% of the primary energy source that comes from the cells that line our gut wall is coming from butyric acid. So you can go ahead and switch that slide. This is what butyric acid looks like from a chemist's point of view. So go ahead. So what are some of the health benefits of butyric acid? Go ahead and switch. Butyric acid is important as it promotes our anti-inflammatory environment. Go ahead. And it also is part of the gut-brain connection, which most of us are just starting to learn what that really means. And the gut-brain connection is the gut's ability to be able to communicate to the through a neural mechanism from the gut biome to the brain level. And we know that there's a number of disorders that are directly related to brain level disorders that are directly related to the biome issues at the gut level. Go ahead and switch. So what are some of these benefits? Well, first of all, the major energy source of colon cells, as I said, 70% of the food, if you will, that the cells absorb are from butyric acid. We know that butyric acid has anti-cancer effects. We know that it also increases the mitochondrial activity at the cell level, and it prevents toxins from crossing that gut barrier. Go ahead. And also, we know that it prevents activation of intestinal glucose production and improves insulin sensitivity. So there's research out there that is really starting to focus on the effects of butyric acid with diabetes, specifically with type 2 diabetes. It increases the energy expenditure by improving mitochondrial function. And we also know that the butyric acid has been known to help in weight reduction and reducing obesity. And next slide. We know that it improves the intestinal barrier function with anti-inflammatory potential. And this is where we're going to talk about the leaky gut syndrome, which is generally started, if you will, with inflammation that is occurring at these cellular linings. It prevents against diet-induced obesity without causing a reduction in caloric intake, and this is mediated through the gut hormones. And additionally, increases the synthesis of leptin, which reduces our appetite, again, helping in reduction or weight loss reduction. Next. Okay. So here's the leaky gut. I'm sure most of you have heard about this. In fact, I'm sure many of you have had or currently have leaky gut issues. When we talk about leaky gut issues, there are a host of things that are involved in that. Once we have that separation of the cellular lining at the gut level, bacteria and food and other toxins can cross over into that blood barrier that is at the gut level. And when that happens, you get skin disorders, acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis. You get thyroid issues, Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism and Graves' disease. You get colon issues, constipation or diarrhea or irritable bowel syndrome. Also thinking of Crohn's disease as well. And even further looking at colon cancers. You get adrenal problems, adrenal fatigue. Also, you know, as we're saying, this affects the whole body. You get joint issues, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, headaches are all can be related to gut level issues. And then sinus and mouth condition, frequent colds and food sensitivities. And then finally getting back to the brain level where you're going to see issues with depression, anxiety, ADHD. All of these can be related to the gut biome concerns. I'm going to talk a little bit about some additional brain level disorders as well. Continue. So what are the side effects of butyric acid? Well, there are none reported. I've reviewed a lot of literature. There have been comments made in some studies, but they weren't studies that actually found them as being side effects, but they were more researchers questioning whether because of the action of butyric acid, could it cause these issues? And as we start to look at the more modern research that's being published within the last 2 to 3 years, they're just not finding any additional concerns. And because of this is why many researchers are starting to say butyric acid should be considered a treatment option for so many disease pathologies, because it is a systemic used molecule, meaning that once it's in your blood system, it is used throughout the body to protect the liver, protect the heart, protect the lungs, protect the brain. So it is really a full body product that is assisting in the health throughout your body. Okay, next slide. So it's been given a clean bill of health. I can't say anything more about that. They're just not finding side effects with it. When you think about taking supplements, very seldom should there be side effects, because typically supplements are something that you're adding to the body that you're assuming, or the body is not getting enough of. And in this particular case, butyric acid is something that the body already produces. And so I just wouldn't expect anybody to come to me, although I've had a few call and say, this person that I gave the product to had some issues. Could it be the butyric acid? And everyone that has asked those questions, I've soundly said no. I think it's related to something completely different. So, but keep watching, and if you come up with something, then let me know. But there just isn't anything in the product that would concern me that it could cause some sort of medical concern. Next. So what are some of the pathologies that researchers are suggesting butyric acid could be beneficial for? I listed a few of them related to leaky gut syndrome. And if we're going to be assisting the gut in its healing process with butyric acid, then we're going to take the assumption that possibly some of those will be rendered as well. But let's go to the next slide. The biggest thing in the body, as most of us know, is inflammation, and it affects absolutely everything. And I'm not going to go through this entire list. You've probably seen similar ones like this. But my argument, and those who know me well know I've been involved in NRF2 research and looking at exactly what is that signaling process at the cell that turns on that NRF2 system, and what is it doing once that happens. We've used the analogy with NRF2 that it's like having the ability to put out fires very rapidly, because if throughout the body, when we're talking about inflammation, because once you turn on those genes, the anti-inflammatory genes are upregulated to degrees where we expect them to be when we are in our early teens, as young as 10 to 14 years of age. And we're able to turn those on with that NRF2 stimulation. But the argument I'm having now, since I started really moving into the research into butyric acid, is that I'm thinking about all those years that I worked trying to put out inflammation fires, and I wasn't looking at the gut at all. And now when we look at what's happening at the gut level, that is the biggest inflammation center in the body. And if you've got inflammation occurring there, you're sending that inflammation through different parts of the body as well. So my change in my rhetoric, if you will, as I talk to other professionals, is that really the very first thing we should be doing is getting this gut under control, getting the healthiness of it back together for a host of reasons. Certainly, if it is an inflamed gut, and as you would have with the leaky gut syndrome or one of the Crohn's or irritable bowel syndromes, all of those are directly related to inflammation. And if you can't get that under control first, then all the things that we want to do health-wise to the body is going to be limited, because the being able to absorb additional supplements is going to be slowed down because the system just isn't working at its peak. If your system is working at its peak, then everything else that you want to do to make the body healthy, which may mean adding another supplement like a Nerf2 product, like our Genome-X in Mexico, you really want it to be effective, and to be its most effective, we really need to have this gut system working properly. Okay, next slide. So here's some of the areas of research that I've been reviewing. So I know these things are out there, and I know that there are universities and researchers studying these particular pathologies, and they're finding really amazing results with the use of butyric acid, in their words, not mine, as a treatment for these particular disorders. So alleviating gastrointestinal symptoms, and that can be as simple as a patient that has cramps in their gut system, and every time they eat or just out of no reason they end up having cramping times and bloating. Those type of things is what they're referring to. They're finding great results with butyric acid. Irritable bowel syndrome just kind of doubles down on the first one, only with irritable bowel. If you've had it, you understand it's a gastrointestinal disorder, and it often can be triggered by something you eat, and often requires that you're near a bathroom, because it creates a very urgent need to involve diarrhea. We're going to talk about poop stuff here a little bit. And so that particular disorder, IBS, has been looked at, and I can tell you from experience and from having calls from a number of you out there that this is becoming a big deal, and people are calling excited about being on this product for 3 or 4 days or a week or 2 weeks and getting dramatic results with irritable bowel syndrome. But the research is out there, and the research is saying they too see a dramatic change in affecting that. Crohn's disease, again, another gastrointestinal disorder that is pretty serious, and serious Crohn's disease often requires surgical procedures to correct it if it gets severe enough. And then finally, colon cancer, when we're talking about a gastrointestinal. And here's another one where the research is pretty clear that they're seeing remarkable improvements in colon cancer cases with the use of butyric acid. Go ahead and go to the next slide. I talked about weight loss. I also talked about diabetes management. These are research studies that are being conducted that are finding positive benefits with butyric acid. Neurological health. So things like I mentioned, I would talk about a few more brain level disorders: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism. All of those are neurological pathologies that we're now finding that the gut biome has a direct connection to these disorders. And if you're not getting the gut under the gut health under control, then these disorders are going to continue to manifest and progress onward. And then we know depression and anxiety, because we're increasing chemical levels at the brain that control our mood and our temperament. And butyric acid and fixing this gut level concern is a primary factor in seeing those relieved. And I've talked again to people in our groups that have had wonderful benefits with this new product in many of these disorders. Okay, next slide. So given the strong biochemical support for the potential efficacy of butyric acid for preventing and treating gastrointestinal and neurological and metabolic disorders, these researchers and clinicians alike are looking ahead for larger scale clinical studies that support the growing body of anecdotal evidence, which we're going to be giving them a bunch of it once we start getting people on this as far as anecdotal information. So the real world benefits of high quality butyric acid supplements, LINQ for patients. Go to the next slide. So this is a quote directly out of the Foundational Medical Review, and this was at the end of a study that I had saved and wanted to resort back to. But so they're saying overall, the appealing safety and functionality profile is one of the main reasons why butyric acid is considered to be one of the most promising emerging supplements on the market for the treatment of gastrointestinal and neurological disorders. Now, this isn't me saying it, this is the researchers. And I think we're perfectly okay to be quoting the Foundational Medical Review group in this particular statement. When I was big into the NRF2 research, there was a study that was conducted by the University of Washington, Washington State University. And they came out, and it was the first time in a research study. So that particular study, the researchers stepped out of their science research box and actually gave a comment that was very personal. And their statement was that they believe that the NRF2 science would be recognized as the biggest leap in medical research in medicine, in the history of medicine. That's how excited they were about NRF2. And I kind of laughed when I read that, because I told several people as I shared that study, I said, I've been saying this for 5 years and they're just now saying it. But here is a quote that I will support. And I haven't been studying this butyric acid research, but for just over a year now. It is going to be a treatment option. It is going to be considered a preventative medicine, but it's going to take the research to be published and the researchers to make comments like this that will support that. So go to the next slide. So I talked about, the products we have in the United States. I didn't feel like it would be fair to not mention other products that Activz as a company has. The GNM-X is out of Mexico, will be available in South America, I think in Peru and Colombia, and then elsewhere in the world coming up. But it just is another example of the quality products that Activz will be presenting to all corners of the globe. Next slide. And what can I say about GNM-X? I think this slide tells it all. The green dots, that's GNM-X. There isn't another NRF2 product in the country that exceeds the robustness of triggering of that NRF2 than GNM-X. So next one. And of course, our Emora products. I'm not a cosmetic person. I've looked at the ingredients on these and they are nothing but the best. And I've listened to the researcher, the formulator speak on this. And I hope if you haven't heard her conversation, you need to. These products are filled with nothing but the best, and there are little, if any, skin cosmetic care products out there in the world that exceed the capabilities of these. And to prove that scientifically, if we go to the next slide, I don't think I could say anything about the ingredients that can express how good this product is better than these photographs of our own. And gosh, what an incredible skin she's reflecting now after being on this product for a while. And next slide. So optimism is a happiness magnet. So I just wanted to kind of wrap it up with optimism is a happiness magnet. And if you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you. That was quoted by Mary Lou Retton. I made a comment to one of our distributors earlier today who was made a statement, something about how do I get on that train? And I said, well, pack your bags because the train is leaving the station. And so I thought this would be a fun slide to end tonight. It is leaving the station, but there's plenty of room for all of us to be on it. And I hope that you can gather a little bit of knowledge from these slides. My key and what I'm trying to do for each of you is to give you some talking points, some things that people will be excited to hear, things that you can tell people as you're talking about your excitement of this product, just exactly how good this product is. And the research is unbelievable. It really is incredible research out there. And we've got the single best product in the butyric acid marketplace, hands down. There is nothing that is out there that will compete with this. And I leave that with you. Humbly, I do. Thank you.